There are so many myths about the Soviet Union that it's really important to clarify what was what. And for instance, there's a fuzzy term called socialism or communism. Well, socialism or communism represents some kind of utopia that has never existed on the planet. And so we really shouldn't treat it as a real thing. What we need to do, when you take my course, we will study the Soviet Union as another kind of real human society rather than some expression of a non-existent utopian ideology. My interest in Soviet history got its start when I was in high school, and at Stuyvesant High School in New York when Russian language was offered, and I took it, fell in love with the language, and then through my undergraduate and graduate degrees at Columbia University, I studied history and eventually specialized in Russian and Soviet history. It was incredibly alluring at the time because the Soviet Union was, of course, the other superpower. It was the enemy of the stated enemy of the United States, and it was an exotic enigma that existed behind some kind of iron curtain. We thought of it almost as traveling to another galaxy when we studied and actually got to visit the Soviet Union. I don't look on it as an exotic galaxy anymore, and I hope that this course will allow you to share the change in my perspective that I've experienced over the time that I've studied. We will cover in this class the origins of the revolutionary movement that ultimately led to the revolution that forced the abdication of the Tsar, Nikolai II. And then we will look at the impatient revolutionaries who seized power later in 1917, called it the Bolshevik Revolution, but it was actually a rather clinical seizure of power by a small number of people, although the Bolsheviks had a good deal of mass support in the country, although certainly not a majority. The course will examine the ways in which the Bolsheviks adapted their understanding of their mission, which later pretty much boiled down to retention of monopoly on political power and a fetish of the infinite expansion in what they call the means of production or heavy industry. At the end of the course, we'll touch on some of the reasons why Soviet legacies made the attempted transition from authoritarian Soviet rule to what was hoped to be a free market-oriented political democracy. This class will provide a context for the current world. It will clarify and get you to understand better what had happened in the 20th century and what those legacies were with which we are still living. I've been really lucky. I've had many, many incredible adventures in the Soviet Union and Russia, and I hope you will join me in this big adventure of learning about this incredible place.